就啊，
冇錯啊！哇，
係啊
聽到我哋呢一班人員嘅分享咧，大家一定咧會獲益良多㗎，所以我哋而家咧都要請佢哋出嚟啦喎。
好啦，首先我哋有請香港科技園公司行政總裁黃克強先生 Albert。
跟住有請香港特別行政區立法會科技創新界邱達根議員
Breer 聯合創辦人及行政總裁布斯加女士 Anushka。
仲有啟明創投投資經理陳旭祥博士 Cyrus。
同埋論壇嘅主持人 Mr. Lee Williamson, Regional Editorial Director, Power and Purpose and Business Director of Gen.T Tatler Asia。嗱，嚟緊呢個環節咧，我哋會將佢用英文進行嘅。而家交個時間俾阿 Lee 啦。So now we will pass the time over to you, Lee. The stage is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon and welcome to this powerhouse dialogue. Not in it for the glory nor the money. Tales of struggle and resilience in an innovator's life. My name is Lee Williamson and I will level with you. I'm also a little bit nervous. I wasn't nervous before, but if it's okay for Chief Executive John Lee to be nervous, I think it's okay for Lee Williamson to be nervous. Although I do think the gentleman who has won the day is the founder of SenseTime wearing the sunglasses. Nobody is going to upstage him today. I am the Regional Editorial Director of Gen.T, which is Tatler Asia's community-focused content and events platform for young leaders who are shaping Asia's future. And to get stuck into today's meaty, warts and all topic, I'm delighted to be joined by 4 panelists who represent a real cross-section of the field. First, the man building the infrastructure and community to help Hong Kong startups thrive and grow, Mr. Albert Wong, CEO of HKSTP. From the public sector, tech entrepreneur and investor Duncan Chu, sitting to my right, has been committed to tech and innovation development for nearly 20 years. He is a member of the Legislative Council representing technology and innovation constituency and is also a co-founder of Radiant Venture Capital. And finally, from the world of VC, Cyrus Chan is a healthcare investment associate at Chiming Venture Partners and previously led the Science Park's Startup Innovation Program. Finally, representing the early stage startups, the hustlers, and a newly formed catwalk model, you may have seen her earlier, Anushka Purohit, co-founder of Breer, a sustainable food and beverage business that diverts discarded bread from landfills and turns it into beer. An idea we can all get behind, I'm sure. But before we talk to the entrepreneurs and investors, Albert, I'd like to direct the first question to you, please. As the man running the organization under which building we are sat in right now, HKSTP is celebrating 20 years today, of course, and I think we'd be kidding ourselves if we said it's been a story of unparalleled success. Hong Kong still has some way to go to be considered a truly, truly global leader in innovation and technology. The last 5 years, for sure, has seen some green shoots, but I'm sure you'd agree we're not there yet. So how will HKSTP work to make the next 5 years even better?
First of all, I don't think it has been easy. It's never been rainbow and sunshine. It has always been difficult. And I still remember 6 years ago, more than 6 years ago, when I was talking to the previous chairman, Fanny. I still consider her my genuine mentor. She brought me into this, and I was asking myself, why do I want to do this? I was running a major business in China, and Hong Kong innovation technology must be joking. And how can you pay me enough? Oh, but never mind the second one. But that was the struggle, and it has never been easy. And we've tried a lot of new things in the past 4 or 5 years, including investors, incubation, IncubBio. By the way, Cyrus, I witnessed his growh from being a PhD to running IncubBio to now a VC. And that is why I brought him here. And we're trying a lot of new things. And sometimes we fail. And in fact, I think we fail quite a bit. I think the challenge is pick up the new things, but not be afraid of failing. But failing, it's easy to say that I can fail, but most importantly is to learn from it and do a much better job. So the only thing I want to say is that it's never sunshine and rainbow. It's a lot of work. You have to really be consistent and keep trying.
Well, you've certainly set the bar high for honesty, right then, Albert, with those comments. Anushka, your company solves a big problem in Hong Kong and globally, which is, of course, food wastage. It was a problem you identified when you were just 10 years old. Is that right? Tell me about that.
That's actually absolutely right. I'll share a funny story. So when I turned 10, my parents took me to Starbucks for the first time. And as I was getting my Java chip Frappuccino, I noticed the barista take all the cakes and pastries and put it into a black rubbish bag. And that was the day I came, forefront with Hong Kong's food wastage problem. But it wasn't until I went home and did some research that I realized that Hong Kong wastes 3,600 tons of food every day, and 47% is just bread. So at the time when I was standing in Starbucks, I said to myself, you know what, one day I'll grow up and I'll do something about this. And that's kind of where that spark for Breer began.
Cyrus, your personal journey, we're talking about personal journeys today, of course, and resilience. Your personal journey started out in academia. You were a scientist. Then you made a pivot and joined HKSTP, helping incubate early-stage startups. What was behind that decision for you to switch tracks?
Well, I remember when I first do my PhD, I was like looking for some scientific discovery. And this is amazing, this is fantastic, but I gradually realized that a lot of scientific findings stayed in academia for a long time, and the translation of such scientific finding needs commercialization. And that's why I have the privilege to join Science Park a couple of years ago, running the Incube Bio program, and help all these biotech startups to grow and develop.
Duncan, your personal journey, when you left school, you went into your family business. And it was only later, through hard-earned life experiences, that you realized where your passion and purpose really, really lay. Can you share a little bit about that journey, please?
I think I started to get involved in Hong Kong's tech innovation industry a bit more than 20 years ago. So I witnessed all the 20 years of growth of Science Park. Happy birthday again for Hong Kong Science Park. So I think I echoed Albert saying, I mean, there were setbacks, there were frustrating times, there were ups and downs. So I think for myself, I've been a business operator for the family office. I started companies as a startup entrepreneurs. I have been an investor and now as a legislator. So I just have to say that for the last 20 years, I've never seen such a vibrant scene in Hong Kong. 20 years ago, if you talk about being a startup company, you don't have any support that you have today. So I'm just thrilled, as beyond words, what I can say. What we have today, I'm really proud as a part of the community, part of the stakeholders that witness what we have achieved in Hong Kong today. We just mentioned presidency in Hong Kong with a short stay. The only stay he went to visit is Science Park. So I have to say this is a wonderful journey for the last 20 years, what happened to Hong Kong and to me as a participant of the industry, and I'm just proud to be part of it and happy to see what happens in the next 20 years.
Anushka, you mentioned initially when we spoke that you had no aspirations to be an entrepreneur, right? But here you are, fresh graduate, out of university, you're an entrepreneur. What happened?
Great question. So when I was growing up, I always thought, okay, maybe I'll be a doctor, engineer, maybe even lawyer.
Make your parents happy.
A little bit. But even for me, it was just kind of what I was exposed to. But for some reason, I never thought, oh, let me grow up to be an entrepreneur. Let me grow up to be a CEO. And so, like I said, flashback to that moment when I was standing in Starbucks, again, I didn't think, okay, let me start an initiative where I'm going to collect this bread and do something about it. It was more, I wanted to give back to the city that I call home and try to find a way where you can make money, but at the same time do good. And so, that's kind of where that entrepreneur spark came in, and I'm glad I actually didn't end up, going the normal route, engineer, lawyer, doctor. I think entrepreneurship is very cool.
You said before that some of the framework and the support of the infrastructure around you made it okay to fail at a younger age. Do you want to explain a bit more about that?
For sure. I think another thing that I want to add is, as a student, the stakes are really not that high, right? If Breer didn't end up becoming a company, it's not like I lost years and years of my professional career. It's not like I lost a lot of money. And I think that helped, but it was once I dipped my foot into the industry that I realized there's so much support for entrepreneurship in Hong Kong. So whether that be in UST, of course, STP, we were part of the ideation program. And this is beyond funds, right? This is mentorship. This is programs, exposure just like this. And I think there's still, like you said, a very long way to go, but that's what excited me so much about it, and that's why I'm sticking it out here.
Sticking out here, even though sometimes it is not easy, right? Cyrus, on that note, we're here today to talk about the grittier, sometimes less talked about side of startup life, which ain't all roses, you know? You shouldn't be doing it for the Maserati, right? Otherwise, you may be in it for the wrong reasons. Can you share a little bit about some of the challenges that you have faced, and potentially maybe how some of those challenges have been similar or different from the academic world you were in and now the startup business and VC world?
Right. That's a very good question. I think there's a lot of similarity between academia and startup. They both doing something really novel, innovative. No one is going to did it before, and you're going to have really passionate about your projects and trying to make it happen. All right. However, I do see startup on top of technology and science. You're going to defocus a bit and look at something that is non-scientific, the market trend, the niche, regulatory hurdles, so on and so on. So there's a lot of things to learn, and I do believe that with passion you can get through it.
Because when you're doing research in academia or whether you're building a business, there is no textbook, right? There is no guidebook to tell you what to do. You have to figure it out through your own hard work and mistakes. Anushka, recently you had such an experience where, kind of a minute thing, you were trying to get bakeries, large and small, to give you their bread they were going to be throwing away anyway, and even that proved to be a challenge to get their garbage, basically. It was only through sheer tenacity you overcame this challenge. Can you share that fantastic story?
Oh, it was a challenge. So when we first started off, one of my biggest tasks was exactly like you said, getting bakeries to give us the bread that they would otherwise throw away. And I remember making a list of all the bakeries close to my home so I could get my mom to drive me there. And I visited them all, told them about this idea of turning bread into beer. And all of them would either respond with, interesting idea, or yeah, good luck with that. But no one really gave me any bread. And so there came a time where I exhausted that list and I had to repeat that list. And I remember walking into one bakery as such on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. And I walked in and I said, hey, I'm back again for some bread. Please, can you trust me? And the woman started laughing at me. And she said to me, the fact that you're here at 11 a.m. in the morning shows that for some reason this means a lot to you. I still don't know if you're just a bunch of students who want to take my bread for free and not come back, but here's what I'll do. I'll give you 2 kilograms of my sourdough bread that I have today. If you can turn it into beer, come back and we'll talk, but if you can't, don't come back. So at the time, it seemed like, yes, I finally got the bread. Of course, now in hindsight, it's actually pretty scary. The stakes were quite high there. But I ended up taking that bread, and thankfully for us, we did make beer from it. And of course, we went from working with smaller bakeries like that to some of Hong Kong's largest players. So be it the largest and oldest bread manufacturer, Maxim's, who we did a collaboration with, or even here at STP, the beer in your goodie bags today is made from Breer. So I really hope you do enjoy it, and I would love to know your feedback.
Anushka, you do know that 11 a.m. isn't that early, right? Perhaps if you're a student, it is, but as an entrepreneur, you might be setting that alarm clock a bit earlier. Duncan, speaking of advice for early-stage entrepreneurs, you've seen a lot of startups thrive and some inevitably fail. What do you think is the key difference between the founders that have impact and those that don't? Put another way, what would your advice be to Anushka right now?
Okay, I think Anushka, you start the company at a great time. I think it's perfect timing. I believe sustainability, ESG, is going to be under the spotlight, and investors definitely wanted to see companies like these and young entrepreneurs like you. But definitely, I mean, like what I tell most founders or entrepreneurs that, I mean, startup is not an easy job. It's actually not a job. So don't think of it as a job. It's a lifetime experience. And it's always painful. It's not easy. You see challenges, and if you're not ready to solve problem every day in different problems, you shouldn't start a company. So I think just be prepared. I mean, stay positive, whatever you see. Build a good team. Be adaptive. I think that's the only thing I can share with you. But of course, it's different for every company and every journey. But I mean, just enjoy the process.
Albert, it's common for founders to talk about the virtues of failure. It's almost a cliche, in fact, in the startup world, learn to embrace failure, etc. But you really hear it talked about. You rarely hear it talked about outside of startup life, particularly not in corporate life or government. So I'd like to ask, as a man who runs an organization for the benefit of startups, what do you consider to be Science Park's biggest failure in the last 5 years? And what have you learned from it?
We just have one this morning. We have all these trial and error all this time, but I think I very, very much agree with you that it is a cliche saying that failure is something that we need to celebrate. Failure is difficult, it's painful. I wouldn't over publicize that, but I think the most important thing is that you have to have the passion, you have to know what you're doing, you really have to have an end in sight that you really want to do that. And I think the topic is written in the right way, that it's never for the glory nor the money. I would tell a lot of people, including my sons, that don't be an entrepreneur unless you really are passionate about it. If you're going after that because of the money or the glory, you will fail. All right. So unless you are like Anushka or Cyrus, that you really are passionate about what you're going to do, then you can face those problems, those failures.
Well, some fantastic insights have been shared in the last 15 minutes or so. We're almost out of time, but before we go, I'd like to ask each of you very quickly, in 20 seconds or less if you can, if the audience remembers one thing about this talk from today, what would you want it to be, Duncan?
Tech is about people. Tech is about talent. Without talent, there's no development in tech, and there's no build-up of the tech industry. So startups look for talent you need. We're looking for talent in Hong Kong, and we just have to focus on talent cultivation, talent development, and bring in talent. And we see success in this.
Talent is key. Albert?
I'll say just find your passion, throw yourself behind it 100%. There's no in between. It could be starting your own company. It could be your research and development in microbiology or AI, whatever. Just find your passion and throw your weight 100% behind it. There's no in between.
Anushka?
It's never too late to start. I think once you begin, all of us have shower thoughts and we often brush them aside, but it's so important to realize them, because I promise you the impact that you can make, whether that's reducing food waste, whether that's making a lot of money, whether that's making people smile, when you make those things happen, you will realize it was all worth it.
No pressure, Cyrus. The final word lies with you, my friend.
Enjoy the science, embrace technology, and strive for perfection.
Very well said. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a massive round of applause to our 4 fantastic panelists. Thank you very much. Thank you all.